Hello, Ingrid.
Hola Dianita, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, tengo como problemas con la conexión hoy. Entonces, si empieza a fallar otra vez el sonido, porque tenía conexión a las 6:30 y falló mucho, me va a tocar escribir las
Sí.
preguntas en el chat.
Ah, vale. Sí, ni modo.
¿Cómo vas con todo?
Ay, acabo de salir de clase de literature, entonces sí estoy como con la mente así como saturada, pero bien.
Ok. Bueno, y ya te queda poquito para terminar el año, ¿no? En el colegio.
Sí, no, necesito aguantar mes y medio en todo. Sí,
Ya casi.
Good
ya
evening,
casi.
teacher. Good evening, Ingrid.
Hi
Hello,
Luis
Luis.
Fe, how you doing?
It's a miracle to see you, teacher.
I had a meeting with Luis like 20 minutes ago.
Uh, the connection is failing again.
Yes.
Your voice sounds like cracked.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I think you couldn't fix the
I
connection.
couldn't fix it. Yeah, I tried, but I couldn't fix it. I will have to write the questions and answers in the chat box.
Teacher,
Sure.
but when you write the questions, you always can hear well to us.
Yes, I hear you. I
Always,
hear you
always, all the time.
almost all the time.
Maybe when you lose communication or the signal, you cannot hear us.
No, I can hear you, but uh, it's more difficult for you guys to hear.
But we can't.
Yeah,
Right now, we are not listening to you. It is so cracked.
Yeah.
sorry. I'm going to write the questions, okay?
Okay, teacher.
Okay. I've been trying to read the text for this week. It is so difficult to understand.
I can help you tonight with some of that information.
For me, it has been like so dense.
Yes, as soon as you finish the review from the last class, it will be perfect if you can help us, teacher. Thank you.
Okay.
And we're working together, so it is perfect.
Hello, Claudia. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Very good, Claudia. How about you?
Cool, fine, thank you.
Teacher?
Ingrid.
Diana.
Yes, tell me.
I have a question. How do you pronounce this word deixis?
Deixis.
Deixis. Thank you.
I think we can start with that.
Sure.
The idea with semantics is that there are names for things we already use. So for example, we use pronouns, we use the definite articles, undefined articles. we use
Adverbs, verbs, adjectives.
yes, but when we use pronouns, we refer to somebody.
Yes.
And when we use subject pronouns, the same happens. So when we refer to somebody that is close to us, that we can see, that in semantics is called the ixis. So the ixis is the use of words to refer to people, places, time. So pronouns are used to refer to people that are around us. Yes? Words like here, there, over there are spatial deixis. Express where the things are. So they are called spatial deixis. And words like a year ago, long time ago, they are time deixis. So since semantics is about words that are used to refer to something, and sometimes we need the context to understand, so that's why those pronouns, those words, are called deixis. If I tell you I talked to her, and you just arrived to the conversation, you are not going to understand who I am talking about. If I say her, you are not going to understand. If you are in the conversation from the beginning, you will understand who I refer to when I say her. I talk to her or I talk to him, right? So those words that refer to a person, to a place that is mentioned before, or that is pointed at, or that is close to us, and the context help people understand the person I'm talking to, or the person I'm referring to, the place I'm referring to, etc. Those are called deixis.
But they must be in a context.
Yes, because is the context, is what is around that will help the hearer to understand who I am referring to when I say I talk to him or I talk to her, or is the class is the notebook is over there. The notebook is right there. If you don't see, if you are not in the same place, when I mention those sentences, you are not going to understand what place I refer to or what person I am referring to. So that's why context and deictical expressions are related.
Teacher, excuse me.
Claro,
Thesis is a exclusive word or term of the semantic.
exactly. Yes. So semantics and theoretical linguistics is about learning the concepts that are used in linguistics to refer to things that we express on our daily life in the language. So
Mhm.
since since semantics tries to find out a theory that gives explanations about how people use language, what for, how it is related to meaning. So we do that naturally, but semantics and theory tries to give a name and to group rules to try to explain the theory, the philosophy that explains the way we communicate and the way people give sense to words, to expressions, and the way people understand in communication.
Okay.
So again, when we say, for example, when we use defined articles like the, it's because we refer to a specific
Object.
exact. Right? So if I talk about animals in general, so I'm not gonna use the defined article. But if I talk about a specific dog, for example, that is at home and that is sick, so and I am talking to my family, I will tell them the dog is sick. I am talking about the specific dog that lives in my home. So that's why defined articles are also in the group of the ictical expressions because they help us to refer to something that is specific, to refer to something. If I use undefined clauses, articles like a, is when I am referring not to a specific dog, but in general, uh, not the dog at home that I have at home, not the dog of my neighbors, but in general. So I would say a dog usually has 4 legs. So that undefined article also is used to refer in this case to an animal that is not specific, a specific animal, but is used to
Sorry,
refer.
Diana, we can't hear you.
I'm going to repeat. The undefined article a is used in this case to refer to to an animal that is not specific. I'm going to type it.
Sorry. No. We can hear you.
Articles are the ictical expressions. We use them to refer to an object or an animal. So everything that is used, nope.
Ay, no estoy escuchando nada.
No estoy hablando por lo que tengo problemas de conexión. Estoy solo escribiendo, lo siento
Ah,
mucho.
excuse me, teacher.
Es que va y viene la señal, lo siento. At the beginning of the encounter, I said that semantics tries to give a name to explain the philosophy or the theory about how people communicate. So we simply use articles and pronouns to refer to people, objects, animals. But semantics gave those articles, pronouns, and other words a name. And the name is the ictical expression or the ixis. Is that clear?
Teacher, yes, I read the exists the use of words to refer to people, places, time around us, close to us, and you give examples, pronouns, and special, the exists is the name that the words receive. That is a group of words that receive the name of the exists. That's it.
Exactly. Is the word that is used to refer to that. So we already know that those words are called articles. Those words are called pronouns. Yes, but for semantics, that is called the ictical expression. It's like those words have two names. The ictical expressions, and for syntax, they are called articles or pronouns.
Teacher, I don't hear you anything.
We can't hear you anything.
Okay, I'm going to type.
Anything, teacher.
Teacher, we can't hear you anything.
Okay, while you type, teacher, for example, if I say there is a dog in my school, is there a the exists there, or how do I mention that example? Is that correct or not?
There is a dog. Could you repeat?
Yes, there is a dog in my school, and is the a dog or the exists is the article, or what is the
Yes,
exists there?
the article.
El A.
Exactly.
Teacher, what is the difference between deixis and deictical?
No, there is no difference.
So it is the same, but you call it in a different way, depending if
Exactly.
you're talking about syntaxis or semantics.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Okay.
Why? Because in semantics, if you say deictical expression, you are talking about a word that refers to something or someone or a place. In syntax, if you say article, so you talk about words that go with nouns and pronouns words that also go with nouns or that go with objects to talk about possession. That's the difference.
Okay, the example, teacher, the dog is barking. Okay, in syntax, the is an article, and in semantics, the is a deictical expression.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Any other question about the axis?
How about the social deixis? It's just like the context, like I was reading that it was like Mr. and Mrs. and but I'm not pretty sure. So
How
it's
do
just
you
the part.
how do you explain to Spanish students how to translate the pronoun tú and the pronoun usted?
Well, in Spanish it is like a formality, right? But in
Okay.
English there is no difference.
Okay, good. So in Spanish we have that social deixis to express formality, but in English we don't have that difference. So social deixis is part of cultural aspects too. In Colombia, we use tú or usted for formal or informal or close relationships. And it also depends on what you were taught at home. Some people, for example, use usted for or to talk to parents because they were told that usted is a word to express respect, not only formality but also respect. So it depends on what you have been taught at home about the use of tú and usted. But other people in a different family will talk with their parents, will use the word tú to talk to parents because they were told that it helps them to get closer. That is a marker of being close to the person.
Yeah, because I was reading the part when the author was talking about the husband and the wife, and I thought, well, first of all, that it was kind of sexist to say that the husband was above the wife, and that there was a social deixis, but I didn't understand that part. How, I mean, I didn't get the deictical expression there.
Okay, yes, if it's social deixis is related to culture and to words that are used to refer to people in formal situations, informal, and the level of respect. So in the readings, for example, mentioned that in Japan women need to use certain words when they talk to men in order to, because the culture there believe that women need to show respect to their husbands. So the women, the wives in Japan, they need to use certain words when they talk to their husbands to show that respect. It's something that we don't have in Colombia. It's something that is not used in North America. It's something that is used in Japan. And it's part of social deixis because are certain words used to express respect or formality, or the opposite, informality.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's review what we studied in the previous encounters. So who can tell the difference between semantics and pragmatics?
Well, well, semantics is the study of the words and the meaning. The pragmatics is like the study of the words and the meaning in concern to the context uh, where they are used, right?
Very good. Could you give us an example?
Mm, okay, let me tell let me think about it. Like organize, maybe
Okay.
that we have like a certain dictionary meaning, but it may change depending on the context where it is being used.
Exactly. Or if two people are talking about a tidy, an untidy bedroom, for example, they can be sarcastic and say, "Oh, look how organized is this room." So in that example of that conversation, organize doesn't mean exactly tidy, but the opposite. So in that example, context is uh, is necessary to understand the meaning of the word organized
Gives a
in a
different meaning.
sarcastic way. Exactly. So in that example, pragmatics,
In the infographics, I use
could you repeat, Ingrid?
that in the infographics I use an example that it was about the traffic light. And for example, in a semantical way, green means go, red to stop, but in pragmatics, it has a different meanings. It's like if and no traffic, then you're allowed to go. So it depends on the context the traffic light is placed.
Okay, exactly. So in the context of a traffic light, the colors mean something different. But if I don't have the colors in the context of a traffic light, but just in an exercise for preschoolers in which they have to use colors, so the color red will mean stop and color right in color green won't mean go ahead. They will just mean that the color they are. So in your example, Ingrid, every time we talk about context related to words, we are talking about pragmatics. And each time we talk about the meaning that we find in dictionaries, we talk about semantics. So how can we connect that with entailment, for example? You read about entailment last week. Here we have some examples. Helen had a surgery, right? Helen had a surgery. So the definition in the dictionary about surgery is related to having a procedure in a hospital with doctors in order to
We don't hear, teacher.
you don't hear me, okay.
Teacher,
I can't hear you.
Voy a escribir, okay.
Sorry, but we can't hear you.
She's coming back.
¿Me escuchan? Voy a escribir las preguntas en la pantalla, ¿sí? What's the meaning of surgery in a dictionary?
According with what we know, or do you want that we look for the information?
No, in a dictionary, what you will find about surgery.
Is the treatment of injuries or disorders of the body by incision or manipulation, especially with instruments.
Okay. Semantics is about that information, not about the context, but that information. So
Yeah.
if you read the sentence, Helen had a surgery, so you will understand that Helen was sick. We can infer that Helen was sick because we know the definition of surgery that we find in dictionaries, right?
Yeah, right.
The same happens with get married. What do you find in a dictionary about the definition of getting married? What's that?
To become joined in marriage.
And what is marriage?
The state of being united as spouses in a consensual relationship recognized by law.
Okay, if we know that definition, we will understand that David has a wife because we have the knowledge of what married is according to the dictionary, right? So we don't need a context. We know the meaning of the word. We don't need the context. So we can infer that David has a wife. Now, when do we need a context? When we have presuppositions. For example, if you have an emergency, dial 123 in Colombia. I need to have a cultural information, about numbers for emergencies to understand that sentence. I need to know that there is a special number in Colombia and that those special numbers in this case is 1, 2, 3 for emergencies. That I understand that because I have knowledge of the culture, not because in the dictionary I will find that emergency numbers are 1, 2, 3 in every place in the world. No, in Colombia it's 1, 2, 3. So the context is necessary to understand this sentence. In that case, that is called presupposition. Other example, Colombian people can go to the Colombian embassy in the United States to ask for help in case of natural disasters. In order to understand that sentence, I need to understand the role of embassies. Right? It's a cultural information that I have to understand this. Now, in Colombia, people have to renew the driving license for driving private cars every 10 years. I understand that if I have the information about the context in Colombia. It's every 10 years. It doesn't happen in every part in the world. So every time I need the context, the cultural information, the objects that are around to understand a sentence or a word, that is called presupposition, and that is related to pragmatics. If I don't need the context,
We lost you.
okay. If I don't need the context, if I only need knowledge about dictionary definitions, that is called entailment, and that is related to semantics. Got it?
No, we didn't
No?
hear the explanation,
Okay.
teacher.
If you don't need the context, no, I'm going to type.
Okay, thank you.
Is that clear? ¿Es clara esa información?
No, teacher.
Bueno, entonces, si, si en un ejercicio de TOEFL ustedes les preguntan qué significa esta palabra en el texto. Y ustedes necesitan comprender el texto para saber qué significa la palabra. Están usando el contexto, o sea, las otras palabras que están en el escrito para poder entender el concepto o la definición de la palabra que les pide. Cuando eso pasa se llama presuposición y se habla de pragmática porque se necesita un contexto. Y cuando no necesito el contexto, ¿sí me oyen?
Profe, escuchamos hasta el resto.